to tap into your superpowers. We had an awesome show. You got to watch part 1. This is part 2. They can stand alone, probably, hopefully, but you got to watch part 1. It was so deep. And it's like, instead of sitting there thinking, oh, superpowers, oh, I need to be something else, and I need to look over there and see what that person tells me to do, and what this Instagrammer and what this social media person tells me I should be like, and what my superpowers are, what society tells us what our superpowers are. Guess what? This is what your superpower is from the inside out. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Stay tuned. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. Don't go anywhere. We have Rebbetzin Tamar Taback, the one, the only, the special neshama, who is going to rise us up to the next level and bring out our 5 superpowers. She's going through them one by one, what we know from 3,000-year-old track record of history, from our Masorah, from our tradition of how to bring out our inner superpowers. So we went through last week. We did the intro and we did number 1, and now we're going to kind of do number 1 because we didn't finish it. We're going to finish number 1, and then we're going to give you the 5 superpowers. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being on the show again. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's even better the second time around.
There you go. A little bit more chilled. Okay, so we want to, maybe you can recap, like, standing on one foot, the shortest version you can, because people binge watch Ladies Talk Show, and we don't want to, like, oh, I already saw this or whatever. So, just some kind of a recap from last week, and then let's go right into superpower number 1.
Okay, amazing. So just to bridge us, just to orient us back into that deep, powerful space you're in. And for those of you that didn't get it, we're going to boil it down right now, just so that it hits us and it lands. So pretty much in 1 minute, what we said last week is that the essence of super is like way above what we even thought was possible, but that's another story. But we really spoke about power. And power is when we embrace all of us and we define ourselves from the inside. It's coming into wholeness. It's coming into truth. That's when we come into power. That's when our vibration literally changes the world. And it has nothing to do with masculine associations we may have had with the term power. So that's,
right, Siri, like, hello. It's awesome. Wait, people don't see you nodding, going, yes. She's putting her thumbs up.
Yes. I know, I have to unmute myself to do the yes, the nodding.
All right. Okay, fine. Okay, so good. We're on page. Okay, good.
Yes, it's just, sometimes it's so great to just reiterate something quickly because it really just distills it. So you see this so powerfully when we put on our external eyes. Rabbi Dessler speaks about this, the difference between outer eye, inner eye. We put on our outer eyes and we observe what's happened in the world the past 100 years. And we observe societal changes in women and institutional changes and economic changes and educational changes. And it's all like, oh, cool, we're on the outside looking in. Ooh, something's happening. But the Torah predicts all of that. The Torah predicts it from the inside. And that's the level that we're going to be tapping into, the deeper layer of Torah, in order to define us from the inside. As you said, Leah, I loved how you said it, from the inside out, right? So what is actually, how are we evolving? For what purpose are we evolving? What does this look like? And how does it affect everything in our lives? Specifically, this is the Ladies Talk Show, our relationships. And here's the thing, is that if you observe from the outside or you tune in from that deep mystical place from the inside that the Torah speaks in, either way, we can see that there's been a rise, there's been a change in the evolution of women, in our growth and in our opportunities, in our expansion of consciousness, right? That's world altering and by design, by Hashem's design. So here's the thing, is that if we don't have the skill set, the tools, the understanding of what's happening, in order for our relationships to rise with us, it's like high stakes, because if we understand what's going on and we understand what the Torah is inviting us to and the potential of our relationships we're being called to, we can literally bring geula, redemption, because that is how powerful the connection between masculine and feminine is. But if we don't have the tools, we don't know what's going on, we have all this power, we don't know what to do with it, it backlashes, we misuse it, it causes problems. The pain in that gap between our potential that's being actualized more and more, and it's a longer discussion, and I can't really get into that here. It's what we dedicate ourselves to do on my platform. But if we are able to understand and together with this information and those tools, bring our relationships to that level, it's redemption, it's bliss, it's intimacy, it's geula. But if we don't, that's where the pain is. And there is a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain in this gap.
So you're saying that I remember one thing we talked about in our pre-show interviews, you said, people, the women have changed, shifted the roles, the possibilities, the potential, the amount of we can contribute to the world. All of that has grown, and the instruction for it, we've been sort of figuring it out as we go along. But our relationships, how to manage that, hasn't grown with it.
Commensurately. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you're saying we as women, as individuals and as a nation, as a group of women, we need to get with the program. We need to learn the new way to interrelate. I mean, it seems like the old way. It's learning our traditions. Our traditions tell us everything we need to know in order to have the most joy we individually, personally can have.
Right. And the Torah is the truth in every moment, right? But there's nothing that didn't come down, on Sinai and is in the Torah. But at the same time, as we evolve and as our lives tick each second closer to the end of days, Torah is an evolving dynamic process that we're in relationship to. So within the Torah, when we learn how to access it, it's the full script, whether it's 100 years ago or today. But the script, that's why we need Gedolim in order to communicate with us.
Spiritual leaders. I want to tell you, this week I actually had a big kind of a brouhaha. I need my punching glove. I had a big fight with somebody because they were saying that every individual problem is specific to that couple. And I'm like, no, there's global issues. And if we understand the global issues that are affecting all of relationships and we understand those, we can work on the individual one. So it's this big kind of...
Totally.
What'd you say?
Totally.
And what I'll just finish the sentence. Hold on a second. And I said, listen, today, what I'm seeing is people would rather get hush v'shalom, God forbid, divorced, than to do the introspection or find out what the answers are to have a better relationship, whether it's therapy, whether it's reading books, whether it's learning what our Masorah is. It's kind of like, it's just really, that seems like such a tall mountain, and they don't realize how tall and horrible a mountain divorce is. So people are, what we're trying to do, and this is a little bit what the Ladies TalkShow is trying to accomplish, is get our Masorah back in our hands. It's right there. Look, Ladies TalkShow. This is Marriage Secrets. I don't make any money from this book. It all goes for Shalom Bayis, so I can push it as much as I want. But the point is, there's 222 sources in here of the Torah of our Masorah. If you or anyone watching or Rebbetzin will write a book on our Masorah for Shalom Bayis, I will help you. I will, motivate you. I'll give you whatever I can do to help you, and I hope you outsell my book. This is nothing about that. It has to do with getting back the Masorah in our hands, so we can do exactly what Rebetzin's saying, which is fulfill our potential and bring redemption. I want to go right into number one. I'm getting flagged here from a question.
Yes.
And I also,
it actually lay on Sunday, actually, not even a question. On Sunday, we were outside having a barbecue with some friends, and the men were talking, and I said, by the way, you do know that as we're coming towards the end of days, the moon and the sun are going to be the same size. They're going to be equal. And one of the men says, I don't have a problem with that. He says, problem I have is that today the women are trying to take power, and in the process, they're trying to emasculate the men, and we're nothing. So we become nothing. So if that's what it's about, then, like, what's it worth? And it was so eye-opening because this was coming from a man
honest
who was
opinion of how he felt about it. What would you say to that, Rebbetzin?
No, I'm just like, I'm getting shivers. What do you call it? Goosebumps. This is becoming a global conversation. Sarit and you and me and whoever, we're talking about this. We're thinking, we're putting our hearts and minds together. We're making ripples. So this is it's just incredible.
Okay, let's get to the 5 superpowers because we promised it all last show and only got to 1. So let's go right to it. Let's go. So the first one that we discussed last week was influence. And maybe you can just give a sentence about it. And then you said we didn't really get finished with explaining what to do and how to increase influence in your life.
Yes, absolutely. Before I say that, I just want to go back before we started talking about writing books, is that we are not alone. This is a collective journey. We are all, what's going on in marriage, it's not just you. And as you said, Leah, it is something that we need to turn in and we need to embrace. This is messianic work. Messianic work. Okay, we don't want it to be messy. You want it to be messianic.
There you go.
All right, so the superpowers. Yay! Finally. Whoever's with us by now deserves to hear them. Okay. So the first thing, influence does not mean you have the ability to influence the captain because you're the co-captain. When I say influence, I mean you're steering the ship. That's how much power you have in your hands. Like Sarah, like Rivka, like Rachel and Leah, they did not mince their words. They knew their power as women. They knew it and they used it above the realm of ego for the sake of Hashem. So influence is an art form. And we had this gorgeous discussion last week. Go back and listen to the introduction. But there's 3 ways that we can practice and access influence every single day. You're going to love this.
Great.
Okay. Way number 1 is from below. Way number 2 is side by side. And way number 3 is from above. Should I explain?
Yeah, of course.
So from below, and each one of these is much more to talk about. And Leah, I know you write about this, and I know you talk about this. The power of receiving is, in fact, it looks like you're receiving, but the one receiving influences the whole outcome. Because when you create a receptive place to receive somebody's love and gifts and energy, it motivates them to give that according to how you guide them by what it is you want to receive. So the receiver influences the whole story, the whole direction of the home, the whole way a man grows and develops. What do you want to receive? What's important to you? That's what your man is going to be inspired energetically, even without words, to go and get for you and bring home for you. So just to be that powerful, magnetic receptacle creates like a suction effect that the more you're thirsty, the more you yearn, the more you crave, the more you appreciate, the more you, that's like the classic feminine, receiving is madly influential in creating and in guiding things, where you want them to go. So that's just tapping into a feminine superpower of receptivity, but we're putting it here under influence. Can I move on to the next one?
Well, you've got to do up.
Yeah, so that's from below, because like if you're like receiving, if you're a cup and you're pouring, you need to be below so that you can catch. So that's why I said from below, receiving. Okay, side by side, heart to heart, soul to soul. When you speak to somebody and you dialogue and you share and they share and you listen and they listen and you give and they give, and it's this mutual reciprocal process of dialogue, of communication, you both are influenced. So you're influencing, you're also influenced. It's the power of a conversation. So every time you have a face-to-face adult conversation with your husband, you're influencing him, right? That's the power of relationship. So
got it. Very clear.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
So from remember what you're going to say, Suri, but from a practical standpoint, that means that a lot of people say, oh, we don't talk, we don't have time, we don't do that. Like that means kind of really ripping out of your schedule to make time for exactly what you're saying. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, but that's that when you hear it sounds so beautiful. Like, oh, I want that. But then the reality is that when are you talking face to face? Because he's with his phone, you're with your phone. You got the 10 things distracting you. Like there's just, we don't do face to face anymore. Like who's just sitting and tunnel focusing on their spouse anymore?
Any thoughts on how people can accomplish that? It's very, very challenging. We have a bunch of shows on it, actually. So, but would love to hear.
Yeah, it's such an important point. You know, I think that the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, has already won the battle by sabotaging our marriages, by not giving us time to talk. The same way he does it to us by not giving us time to think or do teshuvah. You know, every time you talk to your spouse, you're doing teshuvah, you're returning to your relationship, you're returning to who you are together. So it is critical, whether it's date night, you know, put two chairs facing each other, look at each other. I mean, today it sounds crazy with the cell phones and the distractions, but it's really, you know, create the ambiance. People also make a mistake. They think that they have to feel inspired to connect. No, you create the space and you choose to connect. Great. Don't wait to be a victim to inspiration.
I had a friend who she went to a 6-week summer program for what? She's a teacher and she's of little kids, and she went to a course on how to teach kids how to look her in the eye. Meaning the mothers, they're they call them, I'm going to cry. They're called bucket babies because they're just, you know, they go in the car seat, then in the stroller, then back in the car seat, and they're staying in the bucket the whole day while the mother does what she needs to do. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not making, trying to make your life harder by saying this. I think it's really important for all of us to know, for all women to know that the connection between a mother and child is so different than it used to be with a mom on the phone while she's pushing the swing, but she's ordering groceries at the same time. Great. I'm not against multitasking, and I'm bringing in a little bit of a side point, but I just want to talk about this thing about connection. And so it's gotten the mother-daughter and the mother-child relationship is so strained at this point that they had to create a course to teach the teachers how to teach a kid to look them in the eye. So this is just a little bit of a caveat, like be careful, but the same thing, and Sarit's bringing it up as well, same thing with our relationship with our husbands is where's it gone to? Where's that serenity, that connection, that feeling heard and them feeling heard? It's really being challenged like nothing else before. Very scary.
Crazy times. And
go to the up one.
Amazing. So amazing just to bring awareness and consciousness to this. It just keeps it, on the forefront of our minds and continue to grow with it. Yeah. All right. The next one is influencing from above. So this is like one of my favorite topics, but just for simplicity, it's the power of vision. The power of vision. And I'm going to throw in there of prayer. And there, you're occupying your neshama, your soul, and it's like, it's not even what you're saying to him. It's not even what you're receiving from him. It's just your vision. You set that goal. Like what's your 20-year plan with your marriage, with your family? And what's important to you? What's the goal? What are your prayers? Like this is a powerful driving force of influence in a family. And a woman is the one who's setting this. So
you're saying a woman needs to have some aspect of 20 years from now, I want us to be this kind of close. When we have empty nest and the kids are all doing, God willing, everybody's got their own, lives or whatever. What is the relationship I want with my husband? And that will, when you're dealing with them and you've got 6 kids at the table and 3 more in the backyard or whatever, and you're like, but if you have that vision in the future, when your husband walks in the kitchen, you won't yell at him, or you won't ask him to do a task, which maybe he should do, whatever. But I'm just saying, you'll be conscious of what's going to draw him closer to you. Am I understanding?
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, that wasn't what I was talking about, but I love that. In other words, like you have a vision of what you want to create, and you're not going to change it in for some, immediate, get something off your chest, but you're damaging your vision. So that's really beautiful, Leah. I didn't even think of it like that. I was thinking of it more in terms of what you want to bring out the best in him or the best in your family. Like focusing on your relationship sometimes takes you out of being a giver, because you can like obsess about my relationship. It's really about coming out of that going into a selfless place where, what do you want for him? What do you want for your kids? What's your vision for them? Where are you bringing them to? Because we're talking about influence. So I'm not talking about influencing the relationship per se right now. I'm talking about influencing your husband, how his life is going to unfold, how your family's destiny is going to unfold. That's really what I'm speaking.
And I totally get it on a philosophical way. How does it, in a practical way, how do people get to that place?
Leah, you just asked the question someone on Facebook is asking. How do we receive and become that vessel practically? And how do we do all this in the practical sense, not just...
Oh, my dears, we can't do that all in an hour.
Well, we can rattle off. I mean, one of the things, in terms of having your husband give more, is being a receiver. Not so your husband will give more, but that's because that's fulfilling our deepest spiritual role. People ask me, if you had to stand on one foot and say what our Masorah, what our tradition for Shalom Bayis is, for peace in the home, what would that be? And it's always that becoming a receiver. Like the more a woman becomes a receiver, the more that's it. Everything else is just commentary, but it's becoming that receiver. And so the way to jump into that and jumpstart that is say thank you, appreciate what he's giving, appreciate all the gifts that are coming in your house, praise him for things that, you feel like you did, like, you're saying thanks for dinner. He's like, you made dinner, you cooked dinner, you whatever. You're like, yeah, but you gave the money to buy it or something, find whatever underneath ways that you can show appreciation and say thank you. That's the number one, 70% of the battle is learning to be more appreciative. It's very hard for some people. For some people, it's very easy, but I will tell you one thing. If I went through my emails and typed at whatever, I bet you I could find 100, maybe 1,000, 100 emails of people saying, the moment I started appreciating my husband more and saying thank you more, even when I didn't feel it, my husband is like turned into a new human being. So it's a masterful stroke of genius, what Hashem teaches us to do, what God teaches, that can really be a game changer in your relationship. So try that. That's the number one way to do what we're saying. But let's go on to number two, because we're going a little too slow. And we got a lot of stuff to cover. What is number two in superpower?
Okay, number two is emotional brilliance. Emotional brilliance.
What's the word you're saying?
Emotional brilliance.
Oh.
EQ. Emotional.
What is
brilliance.
it? Q. What's EQ? Quotient? Oh, quotient. Okay, yeah. Emotional quotient. Okay, so it's how good we are at reading emotions. Is that?
All right. So I want to explain this, but I've got this annoying thing. It's like, one of my best traits, one of my worst traits. It is what it is, but I just want to finish saying one thing.
Yeah, sure, sir. If we're cutting you off. Okay.
Before we go on, no, because I like to be fully invested in what we're doing. I don't want to have any lingering unfinished business. So I just wanted to say about the receiving. I tried to move on. I wanted to say about the receiving is that what I'm speaking about, more than appreciating whatever comes your way, is what you want more of, receive that. What you want more of, appreciate that. So you decide what you want. That's how you can influence your husband. You want a fur coat, receive that, appreciate that, ask for that, want that, make that your focus. He'll get it for you. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that you want to receive? You want to receive, him to learn more Torah, or to, develop his character, or to give more charity, or to invest in your kids, or to spend face-to-face time with you, whatever it is that you want. the more you receive it, the more you'll get that thing. So yes, receiving, for sure keeps the energy flowing, but you get to discern what's the energy you want to flow, receive that, and you're going to bring it gushing towards you.
It's true, except that I think there is a subtlety in, a woman ask me all the time, okay, I'm the receiver, and he brought me this piece of jewelry. It was very expensive, and I don't like it, Leah. What do I do? Right? And, it varies from person to person. If everything he's ever given you, you've rejected, you have to start, turn the tide and start just receiving and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And wearing the ugly jewelry, maybe not as much as you might. By the way, I have a whole thing about buying your own jewelry, putting it in a box and giving it to him to give to you, whatever. It's like awesome. There's a whole section, but for this kind of thing, if you are receiving everything he's giving you, and he brings you this and he brings you tea and it didn't have the right amount of sugar and it didn't have whatever, and you're just receiving it beautifully and graciously. And somehow the more you become a receiver, the better he'll get at knowing the subtleties of what to give to you.
But exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up. Don't not receive anything.
Right.
Receive everything. You make him into a giver, but he'll know where your heart is. He'll know, you'll always be gracious. You get that piece of jewelry, the shawls that I have to show you what my husband bought from the African Game Reserve. I wear it. I feel like a lion. But I love them because he thought of me. He'll know where your heart is. So don't worry about that.
Okay, good.
All right, I'm ready to move on. So
emotional brilliance.
Emotional brilliance. So we were talking about the moon, and I love how Sarit brought that in again. We are the moon, woman is the moon. So in Hebrew, the word for moon is livana. And the word for a sun, which represents the man, is chama in Hebrew. So Rabbi Dessler says that if you look at the word for moon, livana, the first two letters spell what?
Lev, heart.
Lev, hearts. And if you look at the word for a sun, one of the words for a sun, chama, and you rearrange the letters, you get the word moach, which is the mind.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the rational, intellectual aspect of our beings is more of a masculine dimension, whereas the emotional aspect is more of the feminine. And what's interesting is that we were just talking about receiving, and the heart is actually receives input from the mind. So you think something and it's reflected in your feelings. So again, we see that these themes run very deep, but emotional brilliance, we as moons, livana, we are gifted with the wisdom of the heart. And in a world where for thousands of years that was trivialized, and it was all about double-blind studies and what you can test and quantify, this whole other realm is just gaining traction as really a legitimate area of brilliance, which is really a feminine realm. So I want to talk about 3 ways to celebrate the emotional brilliance of woman, right? And to make the most of it, to bring it out of ourselves. Another thing I'll just throw in there from a mystical Jewish perspective is that we all know that women have been given the gift of Bina Yasera, which means, I'm sure it's in your book, Leah, about 100 times. I have no doubt it's there in your 220.
Intuition, yeah.
Yes. Bina Yasera, additional understanding. Bina means to understand. And the Sefer HaYetzirah, the first book attributed to Avraham Avinu on Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, says that the place of Bina is in the heart. So you would think it's in the brain because it's understanding, but the Torah tells us Bina Liba, that understanding is in the heart. So again, we're getting this loud and clear from our sources that woman and the emotional realm are really very, very powerful. So 3 ways to bring it out. The first one is experiencing another, being able to experience another person. And we call that empathy. To put yourself in their shoes, to take yourself out of your world and to imagine what it must be like for them that's a gift of the heart. It's like being subjective, but for somebody else to experience another. It's a profound act of giving. Empathy. Would you agree with me that empathy is a feminine superpower?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. So that's the first one. The second one.
She's flagging me down and I just keep not knowing really what I should do. Should I take the question? Is that okay?
Yeah, take the question.
Okay,
sure.
sorry. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to know what to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a few questions, but I guess, okay. Somebody writes, I want to be true to myself, right? But my husband's expectations and mine are different. I need to do and accomplish certain things with my life outside the home, but my husband strongly believes that I should be home raising the children. Should I stay miserable to please my husband? So it's this kind of power struggle of where does the woman put her energies and her powers and her forces?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say that the first step is they're not face to face. She's like brewing, he wants me to do this and I don't want to do that. And he wants her to do that. And they're both in their own worlds. And I think that if we bring these two beautiful people, the husband and the wife, face to face, and they connect and they're able to be empathic to the other, that whole dynamic can change and they will come to a solution that works for them both, that honors them both.
And how do you suggest that they do that, Rebbetzin?
So what we were talking about before is just talking and honoring the other's reality, honoring, empathize, use with the one we're on now. Just like if the wife would say to the husband, I understand you want me to be home and raise the family. Tell me more about that. You really want this beautiful, wholesome, loving home. You don't want things flying, and then the husband will feel like, yeah, you get me. And then the husband will say, and tell me about you. And the wife will say, I've got all this creative energy and I feel like it might even be better for me if I get some of that energy out and I'll make even a better home. And then, she'll say, yeah, you get me. And then they'll strategize together and they'll find a way that through the process, they become closer and they share their lives together. So these are some deep skills, it's worth it. It's worth learning tools.
That's excellent. Okay, let's take one last question, then we got to go right back in. Oh, wait, no, it's your
So one more, yeah, I keep going back and forth. So one more was, somebody writes, superpowers, question mark. She says, I have children and I believe the expectations of a Jewish woman are many. Just with Shabbos, the Yom Tovim, there's so much that we need to accomplish. I barely have the stamina to get through the day, which is taking care of my child and getting dinner on the table. I'm mentally and physically exhausted. So I don't know if I have energy for even to try to figure out what to do with all these other superpowers.
Wait, first I just have to go in and give you a hug and say, good on you. You're doing a good job. Keep it up. We're with you. We hear you. Okay, so go ahead, Rebbetzin.
Yeah, so this is what I'm going to say is a paradox. It's counterintuitive, and I totally get you. Thank Hashem, I have a lot of little kids at home, and I'm running a school, and there's a lot that goes on, just to juggle it all. And am I doing? And
you have a guest. Look at that beautiful guest room you have behind you, and you also host. So hello. Okay. All right.
No, anyway, first of all, I just want to say, superpowers. There's no such thing as a superwoman. No such thing. No such thing. We're human. We're limited. Only God is really super, and we need to look after ourselves. And I just wanted to say that. Don't be fooled for a second. There's no superwoman in the world, according to that definition. But this is the paradox: is that the more that you nurture yourself, the more energy you have. So when you feel so depleted, if you're able, like you're doing now, you're tuning onto a show and you're typing in your question and you're getting Leah's hug, and that's going to give you that energy, which you're going to be able to go and pass that on. So even though you feel like you have no time for yourself, take a little bit of time, because you're going to open up so much more spaciousness to give. And obviously it's about, not going overboard with that, because things can get crazy. You have to constantly be checking yourself. But I'll just tell you something personal. I used to give my kids piano lessons every Sunday. And after a few months, I realized I just didn't have energy to do it. I just couldn't drag myself to do it anymore. And then one night I sat at the piano and I played piano, and the weirdest thing happened. The next day I had energy to teach my kids piano. And I was like, whoa, whoa. I gave it to myself, and all of a sudden I had it. So I think this is something that we need to know as women, that we need to nourish and feed and be happy and not be a schmata. And, tell your husband you're going out. Can he take the kids for an hour and go shopping and, go for a facial or whatever floats your boat, with a friend. Because we have that energy. We just have to access it. I hope that helped.
That was awesome. Okay, let's go back. Emotional brilliance. And you were on number 2.
Yes. Okay. So the second one, that it takes emotional brilliance to build relationships. You can't build relationships without emotional brilliance. To be in and to build a relationship. So now we're progressing. The first step I said was empathy, and that is experiencing another. Gosh, I could imagine what it must be like to be you right now. Building a relationship is like one step more, because you feature. You're creating a relationship between you and another. So it's highly complex, because you have to feature in the relationship and have empathy for the other, and for you to connect, that one isn't a doormat for the other's agenda. It has to be this real, reciprocal, mutual give and take. And that takes a lot of emotional brilliance. So I thought that was
good. That's a fantastic thing. Okay, good. So let's go to 3. This is good. We're making progress. Finally, we still are way over. I mean, we got.
How much time do we have left?
I think we have 20 minutes, and we've already done. We're only on 2.
Okay, we'll be good. We'll be good. And people will have questions. Okay. You can ask them to Leah. You can ask them to me. info@thenexus.org. Go ahead and email me. That's good too. Sometimes questions take a while to percolate. Okay, the third step of emotional brilliance, and this is a little deep. You can do it, is we spoke a lot about coming into truth. Now I want to talk about being able to live your truth. Truth, like as an objective reality, that's like quite, intellectual. Like, is it true? Is it not true? Is it good? Is it not good? Is it right? Is it wrong? But to live your truth with integrity, to make it a reality, to live your values, to live it out loud, that takes emotional brilliance, because you have to know, what does truth look like in this situation? And what does it look like in this relationship? And what's called for now and what's called for there might not be called for there. So it's like, wow, like women are really, really amazing to be able to live their truth and integrate truth with life.
So let's go on to number 3.
Okay, number 3. 3 is intuition. It's what you said before. Woman's intuition. And there's 3 ways to get this. I'm going to go a little faster, add a little bit of an intro. Okay, wait, I have to tell you this. I've been working on intuition my whole life. I care so much about it. I so badly want to have my intuition. I need that connection with my intuition, but I struggle with it. I have to tell you this funny story. Living in South Africa, I just had a baby and we were looking for some driving help. So I was interviewing drivers, and this one person came. I called this agency. I said, I need a driver. I was home with a newborn baby. They sent a driver. I said, okay, get in the car. Let me see your driving. They get in the car. They bash into the gate, and then they run over the intercom. And then I'm like, oh gosh, that was a fluke. And then we're on the road and they're driving and they miss the light and they almost swerve. And then I come home and my husband says, so are you giving them the job? And I'm like, my intuition tells me that. My husband says, that's not called intuition.
Like, hello. my goodness. They bashed, like the car actually hit the gate.
They actually ran over the intercom system, but I thought, they just like zoomed backwards in our driveway and, so.
Those are facts. That was separating facts from intuition. Okay, I'm with you. Okay.
All right. So there's 2 ways to get intuition. The first one is, and this is hard, is you have to get your mind to shut up. That's really hard. You have to get your mind, your conscious, thinking, active, verbal mind out of the way. Because in my experience, and I have a busy mind, it confuses me. And then I can't access my intuition. So it's that knowing that comes, it sources from something deeper, something higher. It's connected to your heart, it's connected to your body, not your mind.
Very clear, very clear.
Yeah. So what is it? Sometimes it's easy to say what it is not. It is not your active verbal thinking mind. Okay. 2, to connect to your intuition, you have to connect to your higher power, to Hashem, to the higher force guiding you, because it's Him speaking to you. So you have to have that connection in order to make those connections. So the more you develop your spiritual side and you relate to God as a real entity, because He is, in fact, He's more real than everything else. So, more
very
to say.
Clear. Oh, we got a question. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you the questions. Okay, we have 2, but I'm going to go with this one. Somebody writes, taking care of my family absolutely bores me. I don't have too much time for myself because I have babies and we're tight on finances. I can't wait to get over this stage. How do I know if my dream of traveling and not having more children is the real truth? And it's funny because, Leah, it's something that I think I hear so much more from people today, that they're, like anything that has to do with the home and the home front is just a burden to them. And they just don't feel satisfied from their work with their children or dinner. They just don't feel satisfied in what they're doing. And they just want to be outside all the time.
Yeah. Yashar Koch, well done for that bravery and that open, honest share. There are thousands of women that could have asked that question more. But it's so clear, even just in these 2 sessions, some of these paradigms that we've been talking about is that it's either or thinking. It's like either a mom, wife, or, what excites me, my traveling, my own, love of life. And we want to, when I say come into truth, it means embracing all of us. So there's a part of you, to the woman I'm talking to you, that loves your children. Of course, they're your kids. You gave birth to them. Part of you loves them. And a part of you wants to explore and expand and grow and express. So just to honor both of those is how you come into your power and come into your truth. And once you've done that and accepted all of you, then you can decide, do you want to give these kids up for adoption? Probably not. Is there a way that you could manage to, pace yourself, give yourself a little bit of what it is that your soul needs in order, you'll work it out. I know you will.
You're saying by having, if someone came to me with that, I would kind of feel like, there's a little bit of a sadness to it. And it could be a little bit of introspection of, I had a woman once who had a very, very challenging childhood. And I think there was abuse there. She didn't tell me specifically, but she hinted a lot, so I think she had a really tough childhood. And she said when she is sitting at the dining room table with her husband and her, whatever it was, 3 kids, I think 4 kids, whatever, it was a bunch of years ago, when she's sitting there, she never felt a sense of serenity, like a sense of, here I am, here's my husband, here's my kids, this is what I've dreamed of, this is what I've worked for, this is where, she never felt like she was there. And she came to me with this just feeling of like, dissatisfaction with her life and what's wrong with me, and is it my husband, is it my kids? And she said, I'd been through years thinking it was them, that they didn't behave, the kids didn't behave right, my husband wasn't acting right, and I realized it was me, that it was me. Everyone could have behaved perfectly, and I myself was dissatisfied. And so we talked about her childhood, and she realized that she wasn't giving herself permission to save her life. It's like, I don't know, sometimes if, they used to make plums, and plums used to be delicious. I remember when I was a kid, you juice and juicy, and now somehow they've made them so they've got shelf stabilized on the shelf. I don't know what it is that they've done to plums, but it's very sad. but I remember when you used to take a plum and used to eat it in the summer, and it was just like this beautiful, you could savor it. You could be where you were when you were there. And there is something about what the woman who's asking this question, and my heart goes out to you because I can relate and I get it. But there's something about not being able to savor what you have that's missing in this generation. And maybe it's social media. We can heap all the problems of the world on that, or whatever. But what the Rebbetzin is saying is there is a way to tap into your inner neshama, into your inner soul, and to your own truth, your own, for this woman, it's like, okay, lady, you need a hobby. It's like, you need to start crocheting or painting or piano or something that lets you have some time during the day. If it can be every day, fine. We all have difficulty with managing our life, because we could plan a beautiful day and by 10 o'clock in the morning, it's already trashed, with a million different fires we have to put out. However, the key here is to give yourself permission to take care of your neshama, to take care of your own inner needs, and not to squelch them and just get on with it, and then make the dinner, and then whatever, like that. So anyhow, okay, did Rebbetzin have anything to add to that? And then we'll go on to the next thing, and I see she's flagging me with more questions, but we're going to
I think we need to do the last 5, because we literally have 10 minutes. So.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah. So these are things that I go in depth in my first course, the Chava course, in the Rise into Your Feminine series. And the first class is always free. So you can log on to thenexus.org Rise series. So you'll find it. If you go to school, you'll find it in the navigation, or email me at info@thenexus.org. But I believe that every woman needs to do this course, because it's mind-boggling, and you'll get it. So I just want to share it with you, and try out the first class and see if you resonate.
Okay.
But I think you will. All right. So the third way to get intuition is to cultivate trust. The more you trust it, the louder it gets. So when you start, you're like, wait, what did you say? What? I can't hear you. Is that you talking? And then the more you trust it, the louder it speaks to you, and the more it speaks to you, and the more you get this gorgeous intuition going that really is very joyous, once you connect to it. So awesome topic. Let's move on. So we've done influence. We've done, yes.
I do. Yeah. Sorry, I do have to say something about listening to your intuition. So when I used to work a lot with singles, and they would say, my gut feeling about him is he's not right. And I'm like, wait a sec, time out. Your father was, abandoned you when you were a little girl. Your mother was, wasn't emotionally connected to you. Your intuition about this, you might be looking for something that's familiar rather than I'm bringing up a whole other thing, but it's important for people to realize, your intuition and your gut instinct is telling you to go this direction, mostly based on past dysfunctional patterns rather than choice. So for somebody, you have to know yourself and do introspection. For somebody who has doesn't have a good track record of trusting their gut, or makes decisions irrationally based on their gut, you need to really examine it very carefully. So while I do think, she's right, listen to trusting your intuition but then you really do a scientific thing where you're just making sure that, you could reinterpret, like, the right thing to do is to take your mother out. You took her out every day, and now you're taking her out shopping again, and you just don't feel like it. And your gut says, today I'm taking a day off. That's not the intuition we're talking about. We're talking about a deeper intuition about, how would you, I don't want to go off into a whole thing because we're short on time, but the intuition in the sense of your feeling about things, tapping into a wholesome, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a saying that we should always do what logically makes sense. And then there's another side that says, use your heart, the feminine side of it. So if those two are married, I think you'll be okay. But if you throw out logic and you just go with your gut, it could steer you in the wrong direction.
Yes, I'm so happy you brought that up. Thank you.
A little bit, blah, blah, blah. But I just wanted to clear it up. Okay, let's go into we only have the last two. Yikes. Okay, go ahead, Rebbetzin.
Okay, so I won't say anything more, but that's super important.
Okay.
Okay. The fourth superpower is your power of expression and coming into your true, authentic voice.
Wow.
True, authentic voice. This is powerful. Just gave a course on this based on Sarah Imenu. But basically, when you can speak your truth and share your truth with the world, you are doing influence, you are doing emotional brilliance, and you are doing intuition. Why? Because they all start to work together. Number one, if you're coming into your voice and you're speaking your truth, you're influencing the world. You're influencing your husband, you're influencing your children, you're influencing your friends, your community, your students, whatever. Okay, so you're using your power to heal. It's not ego to harm, God forbid. You're using your soul power to heal the world by speaking your truth. The world needs women's voices. The world needs our voice. And that this is part of, this is what the Torah tells us, right? We don't have to, okay. Secondly, is when you speak from the heart, the power of your words to go into other people's hearts. That's a feminine gift. That's a feminine superpower. You can literally change reality with the power of your words. If you think of how God created the world, it was through words. We create our worlds, our marriages, our homes through words. And something I love in Hebrew, it's all in the letters, all in the words themselves, no pun intended. But in Hebrew, one of the names for a leader is a dabar. And it's the same as the word dibor. Because when you speak, you are leading by inspiring others to come along with you. So that is
she's flagging, but okay, one last quick, no, it's okay.
No, are you sure? Because I feel like, oh my gosh, we're not going to get number 5.
All right, we better just, okay, sorry guys. Okay, we just have to go weiter. Okay,
we're doing good. We're doing good. And finally, when you speak, you're expressing your intuition, you're expressing your deeper knowing. And that's a very, very beautiful thing. Okay, so could you see how we were like starting to play with all these superpowers? Great. We're up to 5. And if there's time for questions and we have a couple minutes, Sarit, you'll jump in there.
She's going like this. Okay, no one can see you go like this, Sarit. Hello. Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
I wish I could see Sarit. Maybe one day.
Okay, all right, we'll figure. Anyway, okay, she's yummy. Okay, number 5.
Okay, number 5 is stamina. Like everything else was touchy-feely, and this is like grit, stamina, staying power, and whoa, this is a feminine superpower, right? What man could have a baby, could carry it? This is like hello.
Hello. Yeah.
So 3 points to stamina. Number 1, if you are the moon, you can't just be happy when you are waxing, but part of the process of life is the waxing and the waning. the ups and the downs, the victories and the failures, and to have the staying power to push through, to be okay with the process. It's okay. It's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay if things don't work out the way we want. It keeps us humble. And it's about not giving up. It's having the power and the resilience to hold your vision, to take it through to the end. So that's the first one, right? To be okay with making mistakes, being okay with process and imperfection.
That's great. Number two.
Number two, we're almost done. This has been like having a baby, right? Oh, nervous laughter there. Okay. Number two is, this is so gorgeous, is that in order to have staying power, stamina, grit, you have to believe in yourself. You have to have faith. You can't say, oh, everything's falling down. Oh, we had a fight. Oh, my husband has been in bed all day, he's depressed. Oh, my kids are having a tantrum. Like, oh, this is a failure. Like, have faith in yourself. Have faith in God. Have faith in the process. And specifically when there's challenges is when we need to call on that faith. And I saw a gorgeous quote, a picture of a moon in the dark sky. It's all dark and black everywhere, but just the moon is glowing. And it said, God left the light on. He created woman.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, so that says it all. The power, superpower of woman is faith. Superpower of the woman is faith. And finally, the third point of stamina is the reason why we have stamina, the reason why we have staying power is because at the end of the day, we want to bring it all home and we want to take it all the way. And it's not just about potential. You could have this amazing relationship. You could build a beautiful home, but we actually want to bring our marriages and our homes to that place of when the potential is actual and we're living with, like it says in the end of Eshet Chayil, we're living with everything we have created, with our hard work, with taking advice of Torah advice and teachers and just all of the potential, converting it into the final product and into what it is that we all crave. And we have the superpower to create.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Whew, we got there. Okay, we have time for one quick question.
Yeah, one question.
One last one.
Somebody wrote regarding the intuition. They said, I'm being pulled in different directions all day. I can't even think of connecting to my intuition because I'm always frazzled. How do I start? She wants to learn how to sort of start hearing that voice.
You have only 30 seconds, Rebbetzin.
All right, no problem. So today's generation, everything's like ding, ding, flip. And sometimes intuition comes through the best in a chaotic environment. So, you don't always have to sit on the top of a mountain, and doing yoga. It's like in all of that chaos, you fall into a deeper potential if you listen to it. And I wish all of our listeners in this wonderful program continued success and just to celebrate in each other's superpowers and victories.
Amen. You can reach Rebbetzin Tamar at www.thenexus.org or info@nexus.org. You can email her or whatever to find out more. This is Leah Richeimer. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next time.